everybody, welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, Anne, and Disembodied Hands, Quindy, and, you know, those other guys that we never really see or hear, but we know they're secretly watching us from afar. How are you all today? And all right, totally, like, I'm with that. Like, if it's a beautiful priming day, it must not be wasted. I will not, yeah, creepy, exactly. Sorry I went creepy today. Oh, well, it's that sort of day. Also, we have a very squeaky Kiki today. I don't know. She just did not want to settle down. I've got her critical role on, but we'll see. Yeah, that's enough drive you crazy, Cornico. Settle down, settle down, Quindy. Quindy, you and the puppy are interchangeable. Settle down, Keeks. Yes, disembodied howls. It's true. He'll take it. She is cute. Her little ear went up yesterday. Here, I've got a picture. Yeah, she's really fussy this morning. But then I was also really fussy this morning, so I can't really blame her. Here is the cute of the little ear going up. Little cute. The tip's still a little floppy. Don't settle down, Quindy. I need your vitality because I've got nothing. That's little Keekster. Here's her little paws. Yep, so the one little ear is up. The other little ear, if she's really interested, the other little ear pops up too, but it's the cute. It's the cute. So yeah. So we have ear sign. We have ear sign. It's good. Yep. So we'll see about the other one. Like I said, when she's really interested in something and she's got them both forward, they're both kind of up, but the other one is just not convinced yet. So we'll see. And having the ears go up on this litter is a huge accomplishment, by the way, because of the mixed breed in the background. So yeah, pretty happy that we at least have one ear. We will at least have the cute one ear up. Yeah. I'm just trying to manage my crap this morning, folks. I had a Dr. Tele appointment this morning, so apologies for the slight lateness. Let's see, do I have any other cute Kiki pictures before I put the phone away? I think she's been pretty, this is kind of a funny one. She likes to rearrange her bed. And sometimes she likes to sleep under it, and sometimes just part of her is under it. Yeah, it's totally that way, Twistonoma. It's like that's the same with Shilohs. Shilohs are like, Shilohs are like we will see the ears like go up usually like one and then down and then up and then down and then back and then forth, and yeah, that's kind of how it works with our breed too. And our dogs take a little longer to get their ears up than most like German Shepherds or Belgians. So I'm actually pretty happy. She's actually a week ahead of her mama. Her mama's, I think, first ear didn't go up till the week after this. So yeah, fingers crossed we get both ears up. That would be like incredible, actually, considering she's a quarter poodle wetterhound, both of which are drop-eared dogs. It's pretty amazing if we can get both ears up. Let me find where's my indigo? Indigo? Indigo, yay! Morning, Daffodil. So I think I'm going to go really warm with the underbelly here. Where is our... There we are. Creamy ivory. I think I want to go... it's going to go a little orange if I do that. I don't really want to do that. I'm thinking. Maybe I'll use the blue. I think I was using tropical, wasn't I? Pretty sure I was using tropical for that. Oh no, I was using Surf Aqua, wasn't I? I remember now. Yeah, Surf Aqua for that punch, the punchy teal, because these are great colors and go fantastic together. So yeah, maybe I'll use the Surf Aqua as shadows on the the belly there. That sounds actually pretty cool. So let's do a bit of blending today on our cream. We already know that blending our indigo into our cream works just fine. Looks like a pig. Definitely has a piggy nose. So yeah, okay. Oh, and I see another mold line. Dang it! Dang it, people. The mold lines, they will, like, continue attacking. Ah. There we go. So around these rounded areas, I typically will try to take the top part off and then get the sides. These are quite persnickety though. Mostly I saw this under the one under the arm here and I wanted to get it out of there. Your housemate needs to like go no Belgian Malinois. Your housemate needs to go over and watch all of the YouTube videos about why you do not want a Belgian Malinois. They are wonderful dogs, but they will own your life. They will take up your life in all the work they need and all the attention they need. So if your housemate wants a dog that can just sit around the house and not require any input, do not get a Belgian Malinois. Even if you want a dog that you want to do a fair amount of stuff with, just, you know, normal amount of training and fun, don't get a Belgian Malinois. Get a Belgian Malinois if you want to devote your entire life to dog training. That's about the shape of it. Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, you know, David, right? You know. Because you have one. I mean, even our breed just did a Tervuren outcross. And, you know, those pups have a good amount of drive and energy. And the only thing that balances it is that Shiloh Shepherds typically are a little lower in those quantities. There we go. Sorry. Had to stop and get that. Yeah. Wants a dog but has never had a dog. They need to, like, define their lifestyle and then define what kind of dog they want. Like, people who want a dog but who don't, like, look at actually the work that goes into having a dog. Cats are so low maintenance in comparison. Alright, there we go. Alright, much better. Sorry, had emergency mold line removal had to happen. Yeah, I mean, I own shepherds. I get it. And I know people who have half Belgians and Belgians. And yeah, if you want to dedicate your life to dog training, or a very sizable chunk of your life to dog training, get a Belgian Malinois. Yeah, they balance out nice and juicy. Well, it's not just attention, right? It's training. It's like, yeah, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. And if they're not in good physical shape, too, I don't know what your roommate is, Kronika, but if you're not in really good physical shape, consider not getting a shepherd. Anything bigger than an Australian shepherd. Talk about, oh yeah, huskies. Oh my gosh. Crazy energy. And also often hard to train. Not always, but often. Oh yeah. Fun in our, wow, your friend is a saint. But yeah, if your friend, like, wants a herding dog, consider, like, would be considered like an Australian Shepherd. They also can be higher energy and drive, but they are not on the level of a Malinois. Yeah, lady, I'll tell you, I thought I was ready. And I'm just like, my life has been eaten. Like David even said the other night, like he flees. Like we put the puppy to bed at like 9:15, and he's like, I finally have time to work on my hobbying. Like she's eaten our lives. Like we have very little hobby time. Like a lot of my writing time has gotten sucked away because I have to concentrate on the Patreon with the time I do have. And it's like, yeah, right. Yeah, I saw Klikai at our training class yesterday, or the day before. They were coming in as we were leaving. Oh, yeah, not going to work. Yeah, it is. It's like having a kid. It's like having a baby. Like, I almost would, like, I like raising them because I like being able to shape the behavior, but at the same time, part of me is like, yeah, but you know, if you would have gotten an adult, it wouldn't have been this much. It just would have been a different kind of this much. So I'm mixing up my colors, guys, and I'm going to do a mix of them so that I can see if it's going to make an effective shading color. It will settle down eventually, though with big dogs, lady, like with Shiloh's, they don't really mentally mature until like 2 to 3 years. So what you usually see is you see a big step up in maturity around 6 months, a big step up in maturity around 1 year, and then an evening out of maturity at around 2 to 3 years. But all that first 6 months, they're going to eat your life. It's like having a kid, but in speed motion. Yeah, exactly, Inara. Cats are a lot easy. More like dogs than cats. Yeah, there's a lot of dog-like cats, actually. Yeah, I mean, rescuing an adult dog, so the benefits of rescue, especially rescuing an adult, is that one, you know what you're getting, right? Like, you can kind of assess in the shelter a little bit, or you at least hopefully have notes from the foster home as far as energy level, you know, and you can look at the dog, you know how big it's going to get. Oh, barkies. The downside is you don't know that dog's past history, and there may be some, you know, ticking time bombs. Like the dog may, you know, have problems with housebreaking and nobody reported it, or, you know, stuff like that. So, all right, I think that's a pretty good. It's hard to see the green on the camera. Let's see if I can get this to read. All right, yeah, so that's better. So you can see how this is kind of an icy teal, kind of a greenish teal now. And that's our original color that's in the fins. So I'm going to try to use this as partially the belly and transition more into the creamy ivory as we go. And this should give us more of a green. But yeah, I mean, so either way, you have to ask, how selfish am I about with my time, right? How much do I want this relationship with this other living being? How much am I willing to put into it? You know, that should always be the question. I need a bigger brush because I'm painting a big fish belly. Where is my bigger brush? We're going to need a bigger brush, folks. Yeah, Keekster is definitely awake, and I might have to take the problem with taking the Squeakster out is that, this is the barkies, is that then she'll get riled up. And then I have to put her back in her crate and hope she settles down. But if she stays up like this and is barking and trying to play, I am going to take her out real quick. Our whole morning was just disrupted this morning. We got up early, you know, and then I had my doctor appointment, and it's just, yeah, the morning has been kind of weird. And also I gave her a pig ear, and she's probably shoved it out of her crate. Yep, I've got Rurus. But we are not going to rescue the Ruruing puppy until she calms down. Oh, the howls. The howls. She's like, I don't care if you put on Critical Role. I've heard this episode before, and I am not interested. Yeah. Oh, now we're getting a little bit of calm. It's so cute, but... Alright, so I'm going to use some walnut mixed with the creamy ivory to create a shadow for under the head. Shadows will tend to be grayer, so there you can see the cast shadow is more gray. We want to artificially paint that cast shadow in, though. We want to make sure that that's in there. Otherwise, as people tilt it, it's going to look wrong, like as they pick it up and look at it. So we do want to include the cast shadow, even though this model is big enough to cast shadows. More or less realistically. Around 75 millimeter, you get to the point where the model casts realistic shadows. So yeah, okay, now I've got quiet from the pupster. Biggest problem also with taking her out is she's used to getting out. When she gets out of the crate, she gets out for at least 15 minutes. And I don't want to disrupt her. It's hard under these tentacles, so I'm going to do a bit of a wet blend here to bring in that shadow. And then I'm going to blend it into more creamy ivory. She does have toys in her crate, and she's got like a pig ear, and she's got a chew toy. So she should be okay. So essentially just blending that in. And I need to put another layer on the belly here because it didn't cover as well as I would like to. But yeah, just, I mean, it's hard to describe how much work it is. Like, it disrupts, having a puppy is like having a baby. It disrupts your entire life because you have to put yourself on hold for a while to figure out what schedule, is going to work, and, make sure that you are doing all the things, and you have to kind of integrate them into your routine. I will be very happy when this pupster hits like 6 months and we hit at least the first kind of bump where she has a few more brain cells. But she's still going to be very much a puppy for her first year. This is why our registry, our dog organization, doesn't okay breeding our dogs until they're 2 years old or real close to it, because the maturity takes a long time to get there. So yeah, I would say, I mean, if you really want a puppy, but make sure you really want a puppy. Like, I mean, even I kind of, I really did want a puppy, but mostly I miss Kiri, right? So, and my previous dog was well trained and totally integrated into my routine. And so, so now I'm like, oh my God, what do I let myself in for? And I love the puppy, but I will be happy when the puppy is grown up. And I don't know if I've got another puppy in me. Maybe if I have Kiki and she's an adult and well trained and she can help me, because it does help to have an existing dog if you're going to get a puppy. As long as your existing dog has good habits. Morning, End. Yeah, if you see the bubble, you just stop and use green stuff, Twisted Oma. That's very common in resin, in that you get that mold line that also has a bubble. And you just stop and fill it in with whatever putty you want, really, as long as you can smooth the surface. So Milliput or whatever, Aves works fine, or green, whatever you've got. So I've put in a dark gray shadow now under the neck there. It makes his little tendrils show up a lot better. But eventually I'll go dark with those tendrils, I think. But for right now, that's a good. Yep, Fish Boy is back. We're going to work on his belly today and his mouth and his head. Yep. It is what it is. I mean, you just accept them for who they are, just like with kids. It's like, you can't go back when you've had that kid. And, with puppies, people just stuff them in a shelter if they're like, oh, I didn't really want this, But you don't want to do that. You don't want to be that person. So make sure that you really want the puppy. and understand it will be a lot of work and it will disrupt your life and it will be a pain in the butt. And I pretty much sacrifice my Saturday mornings to puppy socialization and also some time during the week. So, you know, I lose that time for me. So if you are a person like me and you need me time, you're going to have to figure out a different way to get your me time once you get that puppy, because that puppy's going to suck up a lot of your me time. Oh, that's not good, Twistedoma. Probably want to interrupt that behavior on his part. Otherwise, your other dogs won't feel safe. Or is it cats? I'm sorry, I might have missed. You said fur baby, and I wasn't sure which one it was. Which species? If it's a cat, there's not much you can do, probably, right? I don't know, Kuriko. You're a cat specialist. But if it's a dog, you can definitely rewire that behavior and interrupt it and redirect it. All right, let's see here. Let's get to this belly. It's indigo, Bill, and I had the chat vote on this one. Had the chat vote. So chat got to choose the color of this model and vote on it when I started. So that is how we ended up with an indigo fish. Yeah, that was my experience as well, Inara, that cats will avoid each other. I'm going to try this real pale teal now down here. And I'm going to block it in, and I'm going to wet blend it. So first we block. Yeah, I can only allow chat to vote every once in a while, or every model we paint would be indigo, so, you know. So just a little bit of wet blending to bring in a little bit of the fishy highlights there. Rescue cat. Yep. All right. So just kind of doing some wet blending in here to get this, it accomplishes two things. Putting on a layer and wet blending it will cover up the parts that didn't quite, where the base coat didn't quite take. And it'll also establish a shadow mid-tone, at least, to work with. Yeah, like, also keep in mind, lady, that, like, okay, so I used to be able to sleep in. Now I can't sleep in because puppy. I have to get up in the middle of the night to let the puppy out. I have to make sure that the puppy's needs are met in the morning before I get to sit down and have breakfast. Otherwise, the puppy won't settle well and we'll get, you know, barky kiki during the stream. And sometimes we even get barky kiki during the stream. Other times. If you work away from home, then you have to arrange some way to let the puppy out halfway through the day because they cannot hold it all day. They're probably going to be wound up dingoes when you come home because they haven't had exercise and playing all day. You know, all that stuff is part of having a puppy. And people don't talk about that. They're just like, oh, they're so cute. Yes, cats will never let you sleep in late either. This is true. So just for that first part, you know, and all the time that I used to have, all the extra moments that I used to have to maybe like just grab a moment of time and work on doing a quick swatch or working on a little bit of my writing or work on whatever, all those extra times are now taken up by the puppy. So that's just because the puppy needs attention. She needs out, and she cannot, at this age, she cannot be allowed to just entertain herself. She will absolutely take all the rope you give her and get herself into a fix. So she has to be constantly observed, especially when indoors because of housebreaking. Yeah, yep. Yeah, it's a lot. It really is like having a baby. And it's like that's what like David and I have to be consciously keeping track of her, consciously watching her and interacting with her for her to be out of her crate. We can't just go and sit on our phone and scroll social media, or there will be an accident, or she'll get into something, or she'll find something she isn't supposed to have, and make it irreparable. That's not her fault. She just doesn't know the rules, and she's just a baby. So yeah, before you get a puppy, be aware. Like, David doesn't even have to do as much as I do, and he's like feeling it. Like, because he actually goes to work, but then he's at work all day, so he's tired when he comes home, and then he has to deal with puppy. So, or help me deal with puppy at any rate. So, yeah. Yeah, you really, you have to be willing to make the time. Like, I had to look at my schedule and essentially say, I am willing to sacrifice several months and mix a little bit more of this aqua-y, greeny color. Yeah, you just got to be aware going in. You never want to get there and then go, but I didn't know it was going to be this much work. Kiki's pretty good at letting us sleep now. Like, she'll start kind of playing with the toys in her crate. But if you're David, you can sleep through the squeaky toy. If you're me, you can't. But I'm usually up first anyway. So I'm just putting in more kind of blue-green streaks there. The teal is a nice counter to the indigo here. We're going to have indigo fading in more on the side. We're going to do some spots as well. That's why I wanted to map this in and start getting it blocked in. Essentially, what color do you want the fishy belly to be? I want the fishy belly to be cream, so I'm keeping 50% or more of the surface cream. At least 50% of the surface needs to be cream for the fishy belly to look cream. And so, since I want it to be cream, that is determining how much I keep on. Does that make sense? It's all surface control. Whatever color covers 50% or more of the surface is the color that the model is going to look. So for me to have fishy look like he has a creamy belly, I need to make sure that a large chunk of this is cream. If I wanted the opposite, if I wanted the fishy belly to be teal, then I would be spreading the teal pretty much up over everything, and I would just be using cream for highlights. Does that make sense? I don't know why Fishy Belly has a navel, but he does. He has a belly button. That seems very odd, fishy guy. Last I checked, fishes did not have belly buttons. Just my thought. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but he is kind of humanoid, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Mostly it just looks weird to us when things don't have navels. Cool, and? Yes, the Tealy Aqua is shadow. Correct, Big Apple. I chose not to go with a brown because I did not want to warm up Mr. Fish because he's a fish, and so I'm going with cool colors. I looked at possibly using a beige or something, but I decided that cream was the only warm color I wanted to use. I'm going to pop in some of this teal up here now. There we go. Apparently the puppy has decided to sleep to Critical Role after all. Alright, so I've got some teal there. Because he wanted to be a genie. Jason decided to do a genie for the air Scion, so let it be. I'm sure that you can look elsewhere for other air elementals, but I actually really appreciate the fact that he sculpted it as a genie, because I think that's more fun to paint than just... I would not be painting it if it was just an air elemental, guys. I like that these Scions are very humanoid, and I think that makes them more fun, personally. So I'm not complaining. I am just using a bit of layering now to layer the cream a little bit out and fade in this teal. It's thinned about 2 to 1. I could thin it a little more if I wanted a super smooth layer, but I just want a nice blend there. I don't think it's the nicest box set we've ever made. I think Dragons Don't Share wins that still for me. The redo. And Maldrakkar is up there as well. But it's close. It's like, it's up there. I wouldn't have bought it if I didn't like the box. And just a little bit more layering just to get this pulled out there. I do want to bring in some indigo around the sides, and then we're going to do some spotting as well. Yeah, winning miniatures, awesome. Free miniatures should never be scoffed at. So there we go. So now I've got that bands down there. Let's see if I can get this a little bit more there where you guys can see it. Sometimes I have to put maybe I need to put a white behind it. So you guys can see a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Now you can see a little bit more of the fade I did, a little bit more bands, little shadows up there. I'm gonna blend in a little bit over here, and then we're gonna start bringing in some of the indigo. And I think I'm gonna do the indigo on his tendrils also, and possibly, I think I want to make them dark. I think I want the tendrils dark. I don't know, I go back and forth about it. Yeah, the lighthouse is cool. It is very cool. Also at this point I'm going to do some lining. Working with my number 2 brush today because I'm working with a larger model. Also I want to kind of break in my number 2 brush. It needs a little bit. I always find that brushes need a little breaking in. If there's a walrus, there ought to be a carpenter. That's all I'm saying. There we go. Just putting a little more shadow in here. Right up next to that. A little bit of shadow up there. So yeah, even though the model casts shadows, you need to paint those shadows in. You need to introduce those darker colors to have it look correct. Otherwise it looks odd. go. All right, so a little bit of that, and that dark also frames the tendrils on his face, which is why I'm actually reconsidering whether I want to make them dark. Considering whether I want to maybe make his mustache dark, but maybe keep his throat tendrils lighter. Alrighty, let's see here. I need to get my black indigo out because we were working with a little bit of black indigo plus rich indigo for the darker parts. Alright, so we're doing about 3 drops of rich indigo to 1 drop of black indigo. I'm going to put some water in that so that I have my indigo-y shadow. Mix that up. I need to give him a fishy belly button. I think it's kind of, I think that this fish might have a belly button because when Bobby sculpted the genie and she didn't have a belly button, everybody thought it looked really weird. And so I think that, if I had to guess, I think that's why we have a fishy belly button. Because it's like, if you have it, then it looks weird on a fish. If you don't have it, it looks weird because the model is humanoid. So I think that on humanoid models, we do expect the belly button, correct or not. Because, yeah, I know when that genie, when I was painting her and she didn't have a navel, I was like, well, what's this? But then Ron was annoyed that she didn't have a navel. And so I think we ended up suggesting one. So I think that's why. I think it's a Ron call. I'm going to call it that. We'll de-emphasize the belly button, though, by not making it too bold and kind of blending it into that wrinkle. But really, if he's a manifesting water dude, he can really look however he wants, and if he wants a belly button, he can have one. I think I'm going to need more black indigo on this, though. Yeah, exactly. Fans thought it was weird because we were used to seeing belly buttons. So today is day 2 of ketogenic diet day, guys. So we'll see. I don't have like a headache or anything, but I feel just a little low on the energy. I'm not total happy hyper bouncy Ann today, that's for sure. Trying to figure out what precise diet is gonna let me recover from my current issues. Yes, I agree with you, Kerniko. I get it, but Ron didn't like that. Didn't have a navel, and other people also. Honestly, if it's I'd rather have it be there, and then if I don't like it, I can putty it in. It's much harder to sculpt a decent looking belly button than it is to just take one out and putty it in. Give him a Fu Manchu fish mustache here. Yeah, Genie's a good mini. Really well done. But these are all pretty fun models. I mean, whether you agree on belly buttons or you don't. So long indigo tendrils. He definitely has like a lot of fins and the crest going on for a lionfish. But if we had thought about lionfish before, we would have totally changed the color scheme. If we had wanted to paint him like a lionfish. It's not bad, Typhus. It's a little dicier in person, although the belly's looking pretty good. But thank you. Wet blending is I'm heavily depending on wet blending for this, and that makes it a lot easier. If I wet blend initially and then I wet into wet, which is put down one color and then blend into it while it's still wet. That's a lot easier than working it up all with layering. So, and you can always refine it with layering if you want to. The fishy's coming along. You're late for very important dates. Sorry, I'm Alice in Wonderlanding today a lot. Between the walrus and the carpenter and the white rabbit. Okay. I want to get that indigo down into the mouth. He does have a little, like, he's got teeth, I think, in there. That's very unnerving. Maybe you're secretly a white rabbit. No, I'm not, Major. I don't use retarder. I actually don't like it. I don't like how it changes the paint consistency and the paint adhesion. Talk about that on my Patreon a bit. I did an additives PDF a while ago. And I think you can find that by searching additives. But I talk a little bit in there about how slow dry or drying retarder changes the chemistry of the paint. And I'm not a big fan. We'll just give him his little lower teeth there. So not only does he have belly button, he has teeth. It's a fish with teeth. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of drying retarder. It's one of the additives that will really change your paint and impact it, and so it's good to understand how it's going to impact it. I'm going to get his little warts here, his fishy warts, and apparently he also has warts. And there's another wart down here. And for the color for these little warts, I'm actually using a blend of Surf Aqua and a little bit of my Rich Indigo, which pulls it toward blue. So essentially, I can mix my blue for this model, should I want to use blue, since he's a fish, by just combining this color and this color. Because the green in the surf aqua will interact with the magenta in the indigo, and it will produce a blue. So essentially I can mix a blue through these, through the greenish blue and the purplish blue together make blue. And I'm using that blue for some of these transitions. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean it's not for you. Just if you're going to use it, use very little of it. Very little. In that additives thing I talk about too, how much to use and things like that. How you don't want to use too much. So I'm going to take these little circles here and I'm going to make them that blue. Although, you know what, I should paint over all of this first. I feel like my paint got too thin in here. And now painting over the bones black is giving me a little bit of lip, even though I washed my bones black. And that does happen. That's because I wanted to be able to blend that creamy ivory, so I threw more water into it. But sadly, that has resulted in a paint that does not want to cover on the side of my model. But yeah, drawing your tartar can be fine. I mean, not everybody... I'm very used to wet blending. I use it now all the time. It's become a major tool in my toolbox. But if it is not in yours, not everybody takes to it. And in that case, drawing your tartar can definitely be your friend. Where is my mixing brush? There I am. I'm going to mix up some new greenish color here. There we go, much thicker. But yeah, so I don't feel the need for a tartar because as I mentioned, I don't like how it changes consistency of the paint. Also, I'm just like, at this point, I'm quite good at the wet blend. But not everybody takes to that technique, the wet blending technique. I'm just going to paint right over this. I want to make it teal first. And so yeah, I don't consider wet blending to be a necessary technique ever. It's something that if you can learn to do it, is very useful. But it's like not necessary. It's never necessary. It can improve your speed, so it's worth learning to utilize it. But what I do instead, Major, is essentially, usually, I have a base coat that I put down, and then over the top of that, then I do my wet blend. That way I don't have to worry about coverage. Like right now, blending just straight over the bones black, I have to worry about whether I'm getting good enough coverage with these paints. And that can be just an extra thing to worry about when you're trying to get that blend. So not ideal. So usually I would put down a base coat. And that also would let me go over the top with thinner paint, which I find is easier to wet blend with because it stays wet a little longer because of all the water in it. Okay, I'm bringing this out, bringing that out. Essentially blending in some of this teal here. There we go. So we've got a blend. But yeah, if you are not an experienced wet blender, then definitely do the do the drying your tartar. Just remember to just add a tiny bit, tiny, and I mean tiny. Experiment with little tinies until you find what you need. But if you add too much, it will never dry. The paint will never dry. It will be tacky. It will not stick very well. So very small amount. Usually I would say just like drip some drying your tartar into one of your wells. Just dip your brush in it and then add it to your paint puddle. That's how little I'm talking about. I would never even add a full drop. So I'm putting in these dark first, and then I'll go over it with the blue. So I want these to stand out, these big nodules. All right, so that's coming along. That's kind of what I want that transition to look like. Cool, Major, yeah. I mean, definitely life stuff takes precedence over Patreon for sure. But I mean, you can also just ask questions on the stream here. It's just there's a lot more information on the Patreon because I can write things like PDFs. Go a little more into depth. Sorry. That's why I always mention it. I'm going to bring in a little bit of the aqua and highlight just a little bit on the rims here. Yeah, quantum, that's a good, I would say 10 to 1, that's a good good guide. That way you can thin with that. Yeah, the 10 to 1 ratio should work just fine. 10 to 1 drawing retarder to water, and then just use that to thin a little bit. Bringing in a little bit of the detail there. Anywhere from 1 to 1 to 2 to 1, or sorry, 1 to 1 to 1 to 2, sometimes 1 to 3. It really depends on the color, probably. I really can't quantify it, but yeah, you'd have to go watch the video to see me go in more on all this stuff. It really depends. Some really, really transparent colors, you can go as little as 1 to 1, like Succubus Kiss comes to mind. But really, you shouldn't be aiming for a ratio. You should be aiming for the appearance of the paint. Like, you should be able to see that it's that colored water. But yeah, some of the more transparent but not quite as much colors will go like 1 to 2, sometimes 1 to 3. Really, really opaque colors may even need to go like 1 to 4. Like, so it really depends on the paint and how transparent or not transparent it is. So yeah, and it also depends on how much I want that glaze to impact the surface. Sometimes if I'm trying to go a little heavier, I'll go a little thicker. And sometimes if I really want to build it up, because I don't want much at all of a change, I'll go very, very thin. But I mean, if you've watched me do it here, like if I'm building a glaze, I'm just grabbing my brush, putting some paint in there, and then I'm throwing some water in it. And I'm looking at it and I'm just going, all right, so like, yeah, is this a glaze or do I need more water? Like, this is how much is going to color my top surface, so is that enough or is it too much? Like, that's literally what I do. I don't ever mix a glaze to a ratio. I only do it this way. I only do it by sight. It's the only, I mean, because every paint is different, I think it's the only way to do it. But, you know, right there, that probably was a 1 to 2.5. 1 to 2, 1 to 2.5. Yeah, you don't even have to rewatch it. You just need to look. Like, see? Get a palette that's like, you know, if you've got a palette like this, great. But you want that. You want that very little. See how little that color is sticking to the side of this? And this looks like colored water. When you pop it up here, you can see that it's almost not there. That's what you want. Don't bother with ratios. Just go that way. That's really what you want. Yeah, I mean, everybody's got their own mix. Every painter like comes to their own kind of sweet spot as far as like additives and what they use for various techniques, and like it's all relative. I mean, it may work for you, it may not work for you. That's why it's always good to like get ideas from people, but then kind of test them yourself. I'm gonna paint over the top of these with a little bit of lighter color, and then I'm gonna come back over with my blue. Okay, got a light color, and I'm doing this because trying to bring that blue up over the top of that really dark black indigo color. Well, and then it's the right paint for the right technique for the right miniature. Like it's always, I mean, I switch my own stuff up. So it's always very relative. And everybody's got their own like thing that they like and way that they like, and that's all valid. But yeah, this blue that I'm mixing from the indigo and the surf aqua isn't super high coverage, so in order to get it to be solid over the darker color, I had to put a little bit of lighter color over the top. There we go, just adding a little bit of a darker shadow in here to give us a bit of a boundary. And it's with anything like this that's creativity based. Anytime you're being a creator, finding your own road is part of the process. You may find that most of what somebody else does works for you, but one key thing doesn't. You may find that you have to totally do your own road. You may find that the way that X painter paints is exactly right for you, and then you just run with that and extrapolate your own style from that. Like, just going to go all the way around this guy and meet up on the other side. Going real dark over the back. He has some pebbly scales back here, and I'll probably pick those out in a future stream. Got a little bit blurfy back there, but that's okay. But yeah, that's the great thing about this hobby is that there's so many cool things for you guys to try and for us all to experiment with. The way I paint has changed hugely over the years. Lots of differences now from when I started. And a lot of that is due to like classes I took with high-end painters, which are not a necessity, but for me they worked. So I got out of them what I wanted. Yeah, I thinned my paint a little bit too much again. That's the problem when you're doing, like, you're turning around and you're doing glazing and layering, and then you want to base coat again. Well, let's just thicken up the old surf aqua. I'm going to bring that in. I'm going to kind of look at how I did it on the other side. Got a little bit of that blue in there too. Did a little bit of blending. Yep, Mr. Fish Guy we started about a week ago. And now we are working on the belly and more of the skin, which we started with the face and the head. Kind of establish our color scheme. Oh no, I blurfed. Oh no, that's his little, that's right, that's a little wart. He's got a little wart. Cool, Turgeon. Cornico is here. Yeah, like I started my new knitting hobby and crocheting hobby for the, before the puppy came, and then the puppy came, I haven't had a second. I haven't had a second to do it. Though she did get a hold of one of my, thankfully, my cheaper balls of yarn the other day, Cornico, and broke, so let's just say she shredded several parts. I'll have to figure out how much I have to unwind now to get use out of the rest of it. Because whatever the puppy can find is a toy. And whatever she can find that causes us to chase her around the house with it, although we try never to do that, we try instead, I always go for the treat and try to taunt her, because then whatever she has is less valuable. But the initial urge to try to grab it is strong. But yeah, so she got herself a ball of cotton yarn that I was going to use for amigurumi and for a fox, and ran off with it, and her sharp little teeth managed to sever the yarn in several places. It's still in its wrapper, so I'll just have to be careful and unravel it. David is not listening to anything, Pendrake. I have Critical Role going on in the background for the puppy. If you can hear it, I probably need to make it softer. Oh no. So just a little bit of lining here, just to bring in some of that, a little bit of a stronger line between things, using Black Indigo Walnut Mix. Just to separate out some parts. Yeah, I'll just make it softer last time. I have to keep the door open, sadly, so that I can hear her if she starts really fussing, where it's a, like it's an emergency and I need to go out right now kind of fussing. So that is why we are all like in the far background having Critical Role on. At least it's geek oriented. David wants to get our puppy a gamer bandana. I think we're the only ones who kept the Critical Role name. Well, the puppy is named Keyleth, the Foo. The breeder actually named all of the puppies for their pet names, their puppy names, named all of them after Critical Role characters. Most owners have now changed their puppies' names, but we have kept Keyleth because Kiki really suits her. She is a bit of a scatterbrain, but she loves people. All right, so just doing a little bit of the lining just to make a nice solid demarcation there. Yeah, so all the puppies in his litter were named after Critical Role Season 1, or Critical Role Box Machina. Campaign 1, I guess. I never was a critter. I started listening to it just because the puppy grew up listening with it. So when I want the puppy to quiet down and take a nap, if I put on Critical Role, there's more likely a chance that will happen, which is really funny. So that's why we have Critical Role on in the background, because it actually helps put the puppy to sleep. Because it's comforting to her, because she grew up from when she was a tiny baby, she was listening to Critical Role. So Matt Mercer's voice essentially puts my puppy to sleep. All right, let's get these areas connected. Yes, our puppy is a nerd. Nerd puppy. Trying to connect up these areas here. I want a little bit of the blue. And I gotta blend in that part. There we go. That matches the other side pretty well. The blending, you mean, Grey Mouser? Or my puppy falling asleep to Critical Role? Alright, let's get this dark color on there, just like we did before. Critical Role. Yes. He does have a pretty soothing voice, all things considered. Alrighty. And then I want to get a little bit of that blue over on that. He's coming together now more, that we've got the belly kind of like blocked in, right? So that makes a big difference in how the skin is looking. You guys just like indigo. Quinty. Alright, let's go and get these little baubles highlighted up so I can put the blue over the top of them. Any off-white will do for this. I'm actually using the pale teal. Hey, Valandar, thanks for the raid. Thank you very much. We are painting the fishy belly today. It's actually fish belly cream, but close enough to white. Everything's going to be a blend, Big Apple. Just like everything else, just like the face is a blend, just like the sides is a blend, the arms will be a blend. They will be dark on the top and lighter on the bottom. And then the hands will probably be pale, but we'll see. I may actually make the hands dark because it'll make the claws show up better, because he has claws. So when you think about that, when you think about whether we're going to go pale or dark with the extremities, look at what you have to have show up against those extremities. And think about contrast and think about how you're going to do it. So if you go with dark claws, then you could totally go with pale with the hands and dark with the staff wood. I haven't decided how to do the staff yet. It almost looks like twined rope, to be honest. It's got a rope texture to it. You see it? All right, let's get that blue going on. Too distracting, Agent Marvel. It's definitely not coral. Like looking at it's braided. It's really weird. Not sure what it's supposed to be. Could ask Jason, I suppose. I wouldn't go coral with this because then you're going with this pink orange and nobody's going to look at the fish anymore. Boom! Everybody will look at the pink orange. Yeah, we'll probably go bronze. I mean, it's a good thing to use for an underwater weapon. But we're going to have to be careful because we've got this this blue indigo thing going on, and we can't throw anything too green in place or it'll start to clash. So we have to be very careful. Yeah, I was just going to do it as wood, but looking at the kind of the rope twined kind of like thing, maybe it's, I don't know. I don't know what it's supposed to be. It's got cool texture. I want to paint the texture. So I'll just have to figure out what I want it to be. But I may not make it, like, even though it's a weird texture and it may be meant to be seaweed or something, I may choose not to do that because the color just won't work with my color scheme. And as we mentioned yesterday, I make all my decisions more from a color scheme standpoint than from a story standpoint because I want my model to look good. And so for me, I don't want to, even if it makes sense for story, I'm probably not going to go with a color that would outright clash. So for me, I'll try to find a compromise then. If it's very evident that something is a particular material that might clash, I'll try to find a way to do it that won't clash too much. Sorry, I got a little bit of a mold line there again that I missed. We're just going to keep discovering missed mold lines on these guys. Pretty much through the whole darn stream. Yeah. Yeah, I guess we could do a black coral. Black coral might be fun, and that would work very well. Or black with just a little bit of like a reddish or a purplish highlight. We'll see. Yep. Yeah, that's true, and another advantage of me not priming. Yeah, we could maybe go with just a regular white metal. You're right. I mean, he's manifesting, so if he's got a magical trident, it's not going to rust. Yeah, because unfortunately, bronze brings in some potential issues depending on what we do with the rest of his accoutrements. Like when we get down here, we're really going to have to figure out, is that a frog leg? I don't know. We're going to have to really figure out. It's like It's like he's grabbed a whole bunch of things from the bottom of the ocean and just tacked him on his belt. Like, he's got a bunch going on down here. It wouldn't be anything I'd try, Valendar, on this kind of thing. If you want to do a mother of pearl, it's doable in miniature, but you want a big, broad surface like a shield for it, or like a big armor plate for something like that. Mother of pearl would be really difficult to pull off. Like, I don't think you could really pull it off on a surface that's this intricately sculpted. Whenever you're doing a tricky texture like that, where it's, I mean, it's really difficult just both in color and in design, just like its details and the color shifts, you really need a big, broad surface and not a really intricate surface. Yeah, I mean, we could do it out of like bone or something if we really wanted to. Yeah, NGC. Maybe he lives in the Pacific Garbage Patch. It's possible. Yes, Weeby is a scavenger at heart. This is true. Yeah, we'll figure it out. I'm thinking that's one of the last things. I like going black coral with maybe some reddish or purplish highlights in here. I like that idea. But I'm still out on this, and I'll get a better idea once we choose the color of his like vest and cloth. Once we have that figured out, then we'll be a lot closer to understanding our overall color scheme. I'm kind of winging it on this one, and it could yet bite me. Yo, Joffrey. Because when you're just starting out with one color and you're just freewheeling it to try to figure out the rest of the color scheme, it's very possible to have some issues pop up. Like, really, it would have been a much better decision to start with a koi with orange and white, and because that would have been then the strongest color, and then we could have gone with blues and purples for the rest of it, and that would have worked very well. But here, going across to like an orangey color or a coral color is problematic, because then it's really can take over the model. And so we've got to be very careful, because we've chosen a very cool darker color, like a very cool color for the face. And so going for anything else that's like a bright gold or something could pull far away from this. Pull the attention away from this. So we have to be very careful of our color scheme on this one. Thanks, Quindy. You know, we'll figure it out. Oh, hey, it's like, I've gone over already. I just realized it's like 7 after. Obsidian is kind of the same thing, Grand Oracle. It's colored glass. So essentially you're doing an NMM black with like hints of color in it. And this would be difficult to do in that. A lot of people would be challenged just doing this in an NMM gold or silver. And trying to do it in obsidian, I find obsidian works best on like big spear blades that have that chipped appearance where it would make sense. And then it's a little bit easier to control. Yeah, any of those special effects materials where you're both trying to suggest either translucency or metallic, because mother of pearl, right? Mother of pearl metallic, obsidian is translucent and more like painting a gemstone. And then you're throwing into that you have to have very either colors and patterns, like the shell, the mother of pearl, you know, you've got to have a certain like gradient of colors that's expected. And then with obsidian, you're having like particular reflections that are kind of colored in the glass. So any of that, you've got it. There are some surfaces that are just going to be too complex that are going to really interfere with you doing that kind of effect. Actually, the best mother of pearl effect I have ever seen was done on a Titan, a Games Workshop Forge World Titan, which had a big smooth carapace. It was way back, Canada Games Day, long time ago, but I remember the model because it was just so cool. And it was the best mother of pearl I'd ever seen anybody do. But they had a huge smooth surface to do it on. And so they were able to execute it, and you knew instantly when you looked at it what it was supposed to be. Oh, I hear the pupper. All right, it's time to conclude. We managed to get a fair amount of distance on us here. We got a lot of fish skin, painted. Yep. So yeah, I've got a Kiki Squeaky, and I will wrap it up. I hope you guys like how he is coming along. I think he's coming along really well now. He's got a real color identity now. Yes. Thanks very much, everybody. And yeah, remember to come back and watch Josh at 2, and then tomorrow we are back to Wizard, and we actually put a lot of nice orange on him. So we'll see what we do with Wizard tomorrow. So yes, awesome guys. Have a fantastic day, and I will see you tomorrow morning. All right, bye bye.